I was wrong about the market this year. And if you follow this channel, you know that I like to go back and find out just how wrong I was by watching my last year's prediction video with you and then adding commentary. Because, well, usually after the fact, once we know what we know, we look back and realize that, well, we're not as smart as we think we are, or at least we're not as good at predicting the future. But if you're unfamiliar with the channel, my name is Steve and I make real estate related content here surrounding my market of Surrey and the Fraser Valley in British Columbia. So please go ahead and subscribe if you would like to stay up to date on the market. And please go ahead and click that like button so more people like you can find out how wrong I was about this last year's market. So what we're going to do today is watch last year's video and find out all about how silly I actually am. First off, holy crap. Look how far the studio has come and how much better my lighting is. Thank goodness I'm getting better at that. I'm even pretty sure my picture's getting better. Or I just have a bad internet connection. But let's find out. Let's go back in time a year ago and see how far we've come. Well, it's that time of year again. Not bad, right? Santa, unicorn, space, lightsaber thing. It's the time. Let me know down below if I should do my next year's prediction video in that same sweater. Just, for tradition. Time of year that I put myself out there with my predictions of what is most likely to happen in the next 12 months of real estate here in my marketplace of Surrey, BC, but also in the province and across the country. Prediction number one, I think interest rates are finally going to start going up, but I don't. Let's see how wrong I was on this one. So far, 100% right. I want to say on previous years, I've been pretty right. This year, I don't even remember what I said, but let's go back and see. I think that everyone should fear that the rates are going to go up as high as the Bank of Canada said that they may. Rates have to increase to curb the inflation that we're now. And also, just so everybody understands, it's now way surpassed that. It's way surpassed even what the Bank of Canada said, what Scotiabank said. It's way, way past that. So, yes, rates went up. I'm right. Man, am I wrong so far. But I do think that the stress test being put in place a few years back now actually is going to put us in a very good situation. So nobody is going to lose their home as a result of payments that they cannot afford.
But how many increases and when?
Well, if I had... Hey, there you are. You made an appearance. How many increases and when? This is going to be funny because this is going to be totally wrong. Obviously, now we are seeing that, yes, indeed, the stress test is going to save a lot of people, but there's so many people that have now been triggered, and rates have actually increased past the stress test that we could potentially be in trouble. Let's find how many increases I thought were going to happen. I had a guess, and I think I do have a guess because I'm doing a video about guessing. I'm just going to put it this black and white zoom in part just for fun. Now back to it. We only see 2 quarter-point increases within the next 12 months. Oh, I can't believe how wrong I am on that. So we saw a quarter-point increase, and then we saw 2 50 points, and then a 1, and then a 75, and then a 50. So wrong. Increases are going to lead me to my prediction number 2, which is I think we are going to see a 10% fall in prices from the top of the market. Yep, you're hearing it right. So already we are currently in the detached market at about 25 to 27% from the peak of the market. I think I would have been correct should we have seen the interest rate increases that I saw. Actually, I probably would have been wrong on that because if we only saw 50%, that's a lovely face I'm making, by the way. I paused that at the perfect spot. But I do think if we're talking Vancouver board here, yeah, we're down about 11 to 12%. Fraser Valley board, obviously, we're a heck of a lot worse than that. A real estate agent is predicting that we're going to see a drop in prices to the tune of 10% across the whole board. However, I think that 10% is going to be from the peak. And to be clear, I don't think we are at the peak yet. And that leaves us to the question of when is the peak going to be? Okay, so let's go back there a little bit while we look at this crystal ball. This is kind of nice. Hey, look, it looks like that crystal ball is shining on me. Yes, okay, so I was right. It did not obviously peak yet at that time last year, and it continued into March. So it went into the first quarter. And we've obviously come off more than that. So I've been semi-right and mostly wrong on these predictions so far. So when do I assume the peak was going to be? The peak, just before we look at this, was in March. Some areas February, but most areas March. Prices are already at record highs, and they're only continuing to increase. So there's no way once we reach the top that we're not going to have some sort of a turn back in pricing. I don't see us hitting a soft landing on the top. I think we will see 10% trimmed off. This is just the realities of any real estate market that has seen increases as rapidly as we have here in Surrey in the Fraser Valley and most of the country this year. I always tell my clients, you had better plan to live or hold on to whichever property you buy for at least 5 years, so you can make sure if there is a dip in the market that you're not caught having to sell at the bottom, because you never know where prices are going to be in 2 years. And 2021's been an example of that. And 2022's been an example of that. But at the same time of that 10% price drop prediction, I actually think that in prediction number 3, prices will be higher in December of 2022 than they are today.
Didn't you just say prices are going to come down 10%?
No, I said I think prices are going to come back 10% off of the peak. So here's the interesting part about that. We have just recently lost the previous year. So we are now year-over-year declines. That's not actually that far off. Prices would have stayed fairly close should we have not seen the crazy increases. So I'm going to say I'm not necessarily as stupid. The big thing, obviously, is we missed the interest rates, but there's still good logic here. I think a year ago, I'm not actually as silly as I was 2 years ago. I don't think we're anywhere near the peak. And I think that the growth we see over the next 12 months will actually exceed 10%. So with simple math, I think we're going to add more than 10% and then take off 10%. So we ended up adding like 20% in the first 2 months of 2022, and then we've come off like 25% since then. So again, we're only down, let's call it somewhere between 2 and 5% year over year in most places. I'm going to say for sure I'm wrong. Am I that wrong? I'm not that wrong. And then that is what I think next December's pricing will be. Does that make sense? Because I'm not sure I even understand. With increasing interest rates, how are prices going to go up so high? Well, that leads me to my next prediction. Number 4 on my prediction list is about inventory. And hold on, because it's going to sound a whole lot like my predictions about price. I think that there's a very good chance that January 1, 2022 is going to set a record for the absolute lowest amount of inventory ever recorded on the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board. And that, which it did, by the way. It absolutely was the lowest point of inventory. Man, I'm making great faces here when I pause. It actually was the lowest, craziest amount of inventory we had ever seen, and it continued to be crazy low through February. That absolutely crazy, stupid low inventory is going to cause prices to rise for the first half of 2022. However, it wasn't half, it was the first quarter. So again, I'm wrong. When we do, or if we do, see those interest rates actually start to increase, hopefully one in April and another one by the end of summer, we think about how silly, keeping on the parade of silly faces here, think about how silly it is now looking back that I thought, hey, we're going to hit that April, March increase, and then we're going to hit a summer increase. We didn't hit the January increase, which, well, I was a little bit frustrated at the time, but my goodness, it's crazy to go back and think, holy smokes, we only thought the overnight rate was going to hit 1%. We should finally see an increase in inventory on the market as buyers start to disqualify themselves from the buying process as a result of the fear that comes along with possible higher increases in the future. Now, there are currently around 2,500 listings on the market at the time that I'm recording this video. And I can see that number dropping to possibly as low as under 2,000 listings. It was way lower than 2,000 listings. It was like 13 or I think it was 1,350 on January 1st. But I do think there's a very good chance that by this time next year, we could be looking at going into 2023 with currently, as of today, there's about 5,000 listings on the market. So let's see what I said. with a much more respectable amount of listings on the market. I could see that active listing number being as high as 4,000 houses on the market at that time, or hopefully even higher. And that would be a great relief for both buyers in the marketplace, which and their agents that are just sick and tired of trying to get them into places in these crazy bidding war situations. Yeah, now we have to talk people off the ledge and get back into the place. So anyway, yeah, it's not that far off. I'm not as silly. Let me know if you think I'm as stupid as I think I was, because I'm not doing so bad. However, that is still not enough listings on the market to swing us back into a buyer's market. If we're lucky, it'll end up balanced by the end of next year. So it is actually on the high end of balanced right now, leaning towards a buyer's market in most categories. Obviously, prices have come down because of affordability, but when you look at month of consumption inventory, most markets are sitting right in and around that 6-month spot. And my last and fifth prediction for the marketplace in 2022 is I think the BC government is going... I got an ad. Look at that. Let's get rid of that. Going to step in with sweeping regulations, even more than what they have already announced, and I think they're going to screw the whole thing up. You see, did I get that one right? I don't know what I'm about to say or which prediction I think is going to come in, but the cooling off period for sure is coming in, right? Now, just recently, we've had the strata restriction thing, which is going to cause investors to flood in. I forgot I did this one, and man, I hit this one on the head. The government has already stepped in 2016 and again in 2018, restricting the assignment of contract and then prohibiting dual agency, both things that they said were causing prices to go up. And since those rules were put in place, prices have doubled. It is my belief that both the provincial and federal government are obsessed with looking like they're trying to fix the housing problem. A problem that they can't fix unless they're going to curb immigration or increase interest rates a whole lot faster than they want to. Which they did, right? So we did see the interest rates increase faster than anybody wanted to. What I didn't see coming was the fact that that increase of interest rates would then flood people into the rental market, which then caused rentals to go up, which has now done the ill-advised intervention of the strata age and rental restriction removals. Just recently, I listened to a BC REA podcast where various economists were interviewed to talk about the regulations proposed by the BC government. And each and every economist interviewed basically came to the same conclusion that all of the consumer protections that the BC government is currently announcing to bring into the marketplace will likely just cause prices to go up faster than if we had just stayed in our current system. And then when these new rules come into play, the BC FSA will task the BC REA and all of the local real estate boards to implement their new rules, causing our governing bodies to have to figure out how to re-educate all of the agents currently working in the marketplace on how things like a cooling off period is supposed to work, or possibly teaching us how to hold a public auction, which has also been proposed. This will for sure cause mass confusion, not just from the agents, but also from the buyers and the sellers, and it's also going to increase the complaints that come in about agents like me as we try and learn this new proposed system. Basically, we have to come up with a new business model, but we don't know what that is yet. The whole industry is going to be turned on its head while we try and figure out these new regulations that are supposed to be for consumer protection. But it's my belief that they will actually cause market frustration. So there you go. Let's recap. 100%. That is for sure what happened. So let's touch on these in the recap, and then I'll give you my final thoughts. My belief is that rates are going to go up. I got that one wrong. So let's face it, I didn't say as much. Prices did drop. I mean, on the surface, if this was a news article, first of all, I'd have these two right. But I mean, realistically, I got both of those wrong to the degree of which they happened. To come down, but only after they increase even more. That was right. First, inventory levels will rise, but not nearly enough, and I'm pretty sure the government's going to screw the whole thing up. That is what I think real estate has in store for you in my marketplace of Surrey, BC. All right, so there you go. On the surface, I mean, if you looked at those as just headlines, yes, indeed, I think I got them all right. However, nobody saw the interest rates increases coming as fast as they did. Even the guy, I always say this in my videos, even the guy from Scotiabank that said we were going to see 8, well, we've seen, 13 plus now. It's just crazy. Nobody saw the prices doing what they were doing, going up as fast as they did in the beginning of the year, coming down. It's all just craziness. But I'm going to do one better than this, because very soon on the channel, we're going to do my predictions for next year. And hopefully they're a lot more right than they were this last year. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to subscribe and click the like button so you don't miss the next video that comes out that shows that I don't know what I'm talking about 12 months after I say it. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in a couple of days.